affordable region of the country, but we now have the fastest growing prices. Green Bay area high school students with disabilities can explore career paths, get hands-on experience, and become employable adults with a program called Project Search. Dawn McCall of Bellin Health works with Project Search students at her hospital.
Project Search is something that Bellin's been doing for 10 years. It basically is an internship program for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are in their last year of high school. And so what they do is they apply for it. We go through a skills assessment program, and then they become a part of our Bellin family.
Project Search runs from September to May. Information on the program can be found on the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development website. UW Oshkosh is selling the building that used to house the Campus Center for Equity and Diversity. It's on West Irving Avenue and isn't part of the university's plans for future development. The building was constructed in 1968 as a Catholic student center and was sold to the UW Oshkosh Foundation in 2004, and then UWO purchased the building from the foundation in 2006. They haven't listed a price on the building. It's negotiable, but the university will take proposals through March 10th. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
The Bucks defeat the Jazz. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Another win for Milwaukee, 125-110 over the Utah Jazz. Head coach Doc Rivers asked why would the refs call a flagrant 2 foul on the Bucks' Andre Jackson with less than a minute left to play.
Late in the game, my opinion, the refs were probably trying to keep the game clean. I think Sexton and Dre were getting into it, and honestly, I think they believe get one of them off the floor, so nothing happened. So I get it. I didn't think it was a flagrant 2, but I think that's the reason.
The Bucks are in Portland tonight against the Trailblazers. College basketball, the Badgers travel to Maryland to play the Terrapins tomorrow night. Wisconsin now ranked 17th in the nation. NFL, the Green Bay Packers have signed Rich Bisaccia to a contract extension, adding on an additional 2 years. Bisaccia is assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, and Luke Getsy's returned to the coaching staff as an offensive assistant. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A few flurries around this evening, mostly cloudy overnight to low around 20 to the low 20s and breezy. Sunshine for tomorrow, a high around 30 to the low 30s, but warming into the upper 40s on Thursday with sun. It's 42 right now.
Mino and the Mayor.
We're very pleased to have Nathan Olson here, Olson Legal Group, also the sponsor of our Veteran Salute.
Welcome. And thanks. I want to start out with that whole thank you for your service, because we really mean that. And you hear that.
I appreciate that.
And it's really sincere. And some people say, well, it gets a little bit overused. What else are you going to say?
I really don't know what to say when people say that, too.
Right.
Because there is a selfless service aspect to it, but
you appreciate it.
Yeah, you very much.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday morning 6 till 9 on WGBW and WISS and the Civic Media app. The Todd Alba Show.
The argument from my former party has been, it's not the guns, it's mental health. Well, no worries, folks. Governor Evers has got you covered. He introduced a plan to put millions of dollars into mental health, particularly for young kids. And the Republicans in the chamber did not clap. If you can't be it for kids, then what the heck can you be for? Jeepers, criminy.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
What do you know about Black History Month? Stories past and present on the next New Wisco Weekend. I'm Lisa Hale.
I'm Terry Barr, also a Green Bay Women's Union.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right, it's all right.
And now, a guy who appreciates a nice hot meal at a fair price, Pete Schwaba.
Is on. Let's do this, man. I'm sick of messing around. Conrad, you ready?
I am ready.
All right. I thought so. Hey, what's going on? Do we not have a feed?
I think we need to turn the light on in your studio because of the camera froze.
So what do I have to do?
I think you have to turn the camera on.
I got to go to the car and get the tools?
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
For some reason, the camera is like light sensitive, so it'll freeze sometimes.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Go on. All right, well. Oh, there we go.
No, that's still a frozen picture.
That's still frozen? So what do I do? We just could put let's just put a picture of me. I have a great picture from when I made my first communion. We could put that up there for the whole show.
What about the one with the mustache?
What's the my Facebook picture? Yeah, sure. Or my Wii. My
there we go.
Put that up there for now until we figure this out. That's funny. You still have that? I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Okay.
All right. So we are live statewide. It is great to have you with me tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on what I like to call Night Light with Pete Schwaba. We are broadcasting live from downtown Green Bay on this balmy day. It's a beautiful day, actually, here in Northeast Wisconsin. We actually had I think it was about 5 degrees warmer here than in Milwaukee. I was talking to my son earlier. So we are getting the brunt of the good weather here. And I'm not saying go out and get a tan or whatever, but I'll take this weather. This is not too bad for late January. Hope you're having a great day, folks, wherever you are. It's great to have you with me, whether you're joining us on the radio or on the app or on the stream. Conrad, how can people watch Nightlight on the stream?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, WGBW and WISS. On YouTube, it's Civic Media or Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Or, sorry, WGBW.
WGBW.
And Twitter, it is Civic Media or WGBW.
Okay, perfect. That's all people need to know. So however you join us, folks, just join us. We got a fun show planned tonight. Chris Foran will be here at 6:35. Chris writes entertainment articles and gives reviews in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. He's a fun guest, and he is always kind of a couple steps ahead of me when it comes to watching stuff. Most people are. Most critics I have on are. But I love talking to Chris and getting his perspective about, he says he's seen 8 of the 10 Oscar films. I've seen 5.5. I'm getting there, and I've got about 5 weeks, as do we all. So there have been 10 films nominated, folks. If you haven't started watching your Oscar movies yet, there's a lot of good ones. There's big studio blockbusters, there's independents, there's musicals. This year's crop of films has it all. So check them out, and let's discuss as we there I am. Does that look like me? My kids think it looks just like me.
Yeah, I think it does look.
I don't think my lips are that thin, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty spot on. It's a Pete Schwaba from Wii, folks. So anyway, we've got great films that have been nominated this year. 10 films. A lot of people have an issue with that. I like that there are 10 films nominated. I kind of think it's anybody's game. I think it keeps prognosticators guessing. As I mentioned, I've seen 5.5 of the films, and Chris has seen 8. So he's going to tell us about the films, give us his breakdown. Maybe he'll even get bold and make a prediction. I think you can bet on the Oscars now. I think that's kind of a new thing over the last few years. I think it's crazy to do that. I don't bet really on anything unless it's with my friends playing poker, just kind of a money exchange. But you can bet on the Oscars now, too. So who knows who will win? It'll be fun. We'll talk about the movies with Chris and a couple TV shows as well. And then at 7:20 tonight, Wisconsin native Olivia Witt. She's a stand-up comedian who now makes her home in Brooklyn. Very funny. She will be, I want to say she's going to be in Madison performing somewhere, maybe Comedy on State. I'll have to figure that out. But we'll find out from Olivia in person when she's here at 7:20 over the stream. It'll be nice to meet Olivia. It's always fun to have a new guest on, especially a new guest who's funny. So those are our guests tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It should be a really fun show. Movies and TV, comedy. We're helping you unwind after a Tuesday. And let's face it, Tuesdays don't bother me. I like all the days. They all have their own quirks. But I think a lot of people struggle with Tuesday. So it's good that you're joining us. Join the conversation, folks. Let us know what you're watching. Have you seen any of the Oscar movies? This is a pretty exciting time of year. And it's great because it gives you a list of what to watch. Like, you're always looking for something new. I know I am. Just go to the Oscars list. There's tons of great movies right there, a lot of which you can stream. So that's nice, too. This is a big day in the world, Conrad. You know why?
It's National Plan a Vacation Day.
That's one. And what's the other one?
National Blueberry Pancake
Equally
Day.
as exciting, I think. Blueberry pancakes, when done right, are like the perfect food. You got a superfood on there. You get yourself some real maple syrup to put on top, maybe a little cinnamon sugar. I like them sweet. And then some like whole grain pancakes. Oh my gosh, forget about it.
I might be weird, but I like peanut butter on my pancakes. And then syrup over it too.
Oh my God. I would never say that's weird, but I will say I don't understand it.
I do that with my waffles as well.
Peanut butter, huh? Interesting.
I love peanut butter. So.
Wow. Do you ever just have like a peanut butter sandwich?
I can't say I've done that in a while, but I have.
My roommate, Paul, in college and I used to get just a tub of peanut butter and a loaf of bread, and we would mow through the bread in one sitting. Like we would just make peanut butter sandwich after peanut butter sandwich. And it was all that processed, crappy peanut butter, but you get the right peanut butter. It's delicious. Toast that bread a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit of jelly.
Mm-hmm.
Get down on it. It is also, though, National Plan for a Vacation Day. And that's a fun day because that leads us to our question of the night.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question. Pregunta. Question. Okay, I have a question. Questions? This question.
Domanda.
Question. Questions.
In honor of National Plan for a Vacation Day, where are you going? Very simple question tonight, folks. It's it's late January. Where do you want to go? This is the day to plan that vacation. It's national, so people all over the USA are doing it. Let me know where you're going. Where do you want to go? 855-752-4842. 855-75-CIVIC. Text us on the app. It's so easy. We're on statewide, so go to any one of the stations. There's a little text icon there and fire away. Would love to know where you plan on going or where you would. This could be a dream vacation, too. If you're really going somewhere, you can tell us that. If you want to go somewhere and it's kind of a pipe dream, that's fine, too. What would you say, Conrad?
I know that I'm going to just started planning it now, a bachelor party for one of my friends who's getting married.
Okay.
We're going to the Wisconsin Dells.
You're dreaming big. We're going to split the gas money 4 ways. It's gonna be That's very doable, though. I like that.
Yeah, nothing big planned for me, really, because, I mean, last year I went on a trip of a lifetime.
Well, you sure did.
What about you?
I think I'm going to go to, if I had to pick, and there would be no tours or anything, I think, I've never been there, I think I would go to New Zealand.
Okay.
And just walk around and drive around, hit the beaches, enjoy the, everything I've heard about New Zealand, it is a magical, beautiful place. Maybe not somewhere you want to live year round. I think it's kind of a sleepy country, but that's okay. I'd love to see it. So I'll say New Zealand. Conrad says Wisconsin Dells. You know, it's 2 wonderful places in their own right. I don't know how many water slides there are in New Zealand, so maybe you're better off going to the Wisconsin Dells. But there are no right or wrong answers, folks. There are only your answers, and that's what makes them unique. So let us know where you're going in honor of National Plan for a Vacation Day. So much going on. I was writing. Jennifer Lopez, apparently. Boy, she is good at keeping herself in the news. She's in a new movie, a musical version of The Kiss of the Spider Woman. She got a standing ovation. The movie got a standing ovation at Sundance. Went crazy. So I was writing a blurb about it for Civic Media, and I Googled Kiss of the Spider Woman. And you know how you Google, you type in, and then it kind of finishes it for you, and you can see what everybody else is Googling in the search? This is what came up. The first thing that came up, this is yesterday morning, is Kiss of the Spider Woman gay?
Okay.
Who types? Yes, the movie is a homosexual. I mean, it's like some guy sitting there. I don't know if I should like this or not. Is it gay? Like, what is... It's a movie. It has no sexual preference. God, that made me laugh. And I didn't know if it was someone who really wanted to know. Maybe I shouldn't watch this. God, crack me up. So that's your Google searches. That's what happens, though. Do you ever do that? And then you just like, sometimes it's nice because you could just take a shortcut. And but I didn't care if the movie was gay. I have no problem with homosexual movies. I just needed to know some word pronunciations, and I wanted to make sure it was absolutely a musical before I finished my little article. Lots of great. I'm telling you, I saw A Complete Unknown. and we talked about this. I liked it. Over the weekend, I saw it with my parents who are in their 80s. They didn't know much about Bob Dylan, even though they kind of grew up. Like, they're his age. I'm kind of a casual fan of Dylan. I know all his big hits, and I love they're great songs. He's phenomenal. But the movie was really good. Even if you don't like Bob Dylan, I don't know if anybody really doesn't like Bob Dylan or just doesn't, follow him, but it's just really solid movie making. It talks about the time in Dylan's career when he transitioned from folk into rock, going from acoustic guitar to the electric guitar, and kind of the controversy that caused at the time. Highly recommend it. Timothy Chalamet is really good as Bob Dylan. Edward Norton is really good as Pete Seeger, but mostly I think Norton was just likable. I'm not surprised he got nominated, but I've seen Ed Norton do much more difficult roles, if that makes sense. And Monica Barbaro is really good as Joan Baez and has a beautiful voice. I understand they all did their own singing. But again, a lot of the music the movie is music. And there's good acting. I would be surprised if any of them won Best Actor in those categories. Not surprised, but I think there are other challenging, just based on the films I've seen. And when we come back after a break, I've started to watch kind of a really different film that was nominated. I'll tell you about it when we come back after the break. It's got 13 Oscar nominations. I'm having trouble with it, and I'll tell you why after this very short break. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Ashwaubenon to Alloway. This is 97.9 WGBW.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. The Equal Protection Clause embedded in the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment is now being used to dismantle the 1965 Voting Rights Act, opening the door to even more voter suppression. Why is its history important? The 14th Amendment passed in 1868 and granted citizenship to formerly enslaved African Americans. The Equal Protection Clause reads, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." Scholars agree that it was intended to stop states from discriminating against Black Americans. Yet, as the National Constitution Center points out, it was also used to justify the U.S. Supreme Court's Plessy v. Ferguson, allowing discriminatory separate but equal schools, transportation, and accommodations in 1896. Another interpretation overturned that decision in Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. In 2023, it was used to eliminate race-based affirmative action for college admissions. U.S. Supreme Court conservatives, notably Justices Alito and Thomas, argue any consideration of race is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. How might their interpretation impact voting rights? More on that in our next report.
This message is sponsored by WisCaregiver.com. People across Wisconsin are enjoying the rewards, stability, and flexibility of a career in healthcare. Why not you? WisCaregiver.com gets you started. Choose between two great options. Become a CDCP, Certified Direct Care Professional, or a CNA, Certified Nurse Aide. Training is free. Plus, earn a $500 bonus.
Honey, you are my shining star. Don't you go away. Oh, baby.
That's the slow dance. We don't usually go that mellow this early in the show, but I like that. It's such a great tune. It's the Manhattans. So, all right. Our question of the night, folks. It is National Plan a Vacation Day. I said I wanted to go to New Zealand. Conrad said he wanted to go to the Wisconsin Dells. His is probably more realistic, to be honest. He can make that happen tomorrow, really. But we'd love to know where you want to go. It's late January. We all need an escape at some point. Where are you going? Let us know. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. That is our question of the day. Text us on the app. While you're there, give us a like or a follow. We'd love to get those. And it's always more fun when you guys are part of the show. I started watching Emilia Perez. This film got 13 Oscar nominations. Here's the trajectory of me finding out about this movie. I read that it was about a drug cartel leader who hires Zoe Saldana to be his lawyer because he wants to have a sex change operation. And he wants to disappear and take his money with him, and he needs her services to do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to see this movie. It sounds like a lot of drama and a lot of suspense. But here's the deal. It's also a musical. So, like, Zoe Saldana will be walking down the street. I'm only halfway through it. But they'll break into song, but it's like talking too. I'm really struggling to get through this movie because as much as I liked how it sounded, I thought it would make for an interesting film. The look of it is kind of strange. And the subtitles are on the screen. It's all in Spanish. The subtitles are on screen for like 2 seconds. And half of them are music lyrics. The other half are dialogue. I can't keep it straight. It's a very tough watch for me so far. I'm going to get through it, but I've decided I need to do it in increments. I almost kind of wish it was just a drama because that's a really fascinating topic. I don't know what it's based on. I don't know if it's pure fiction. I have to do that homework as well. But the film has a really strange look, too. Now, having said all that, it's got 13 nominations. So I'm definitely going to finish it. But I've had to rewind a lot because I missed stuff because I'm looking at song lyrics that are italicized and then the dialogue is not. It is a tough watch. If you've seen Emilia Perez, I would love to hear what you thought about it. If you had these same issues I did. So let me know that. But 13 Oscar nominations, that's close to a record. I think the record is 14. Connery, probably go to the Google on that one, right?
Okay.
Here's something that will get no nominations of any kind. The Paul brothers might be fighting each other. Is that true?
What was that?
The Paul brothers?
Yeah.
Jake and
I
what's
saw
the other one's name? Alejandro?
I was on Twitter, which is a bad idea.
Sure.
But yeah, Jake Paul posted a picture of them. I think you could see it on the website, but
I saw
a poster of them looking at each other like they're going to fight. I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Please
And then
wail on each other.
Logan posted it too.
Who do you cheer for in that train wreck?
My question is, who are they going to make win?
Right, because it's going to be fixed.
Yeah.
They're going to get a couple good shots. One of them will probably go down and take a knee, and we'll actually think he's hurt.
So I also did some more research on it, and apparently it's a different fighting venue or professional thing. So it's not an actual sanctioned boxing match, so it doesn't count to the records. But they'll still
None
do
of it counts. Like, are any of them sanctioned? When that one guy fought, like when he fought Tyson, that was just a celebrity event, right?
Yeah, but it counted towards his, I don't know,
professional record.
If you can call it a professional record.
We're in such a weird time where celebrity is just sort of.
Yeah.
Sometimes influencers, you go, God, really? People follow this person? And other times it's great.
And I thought it was funny that this time it's going to be streamed on Max. They didn't like that Netflix was buffering too much.
Who, the Paul brothers?
I'm guessing, otherwise they would have done it on Netflix again, don't you think?
Netflix has just not done well at all with sports. They're terrible.
Yeah. I mean, Max, reasonable prices.
Yeah.
Better shows, in my opinion.
Better.
And I think they have a great movie selection as well. I go on Max all the time, but I think this is good. This could be good for them.
I think you're right, and I think pound for pound, I would say my favorite streaming service is Max because they have everything. They have great movies. They have original TV shows. They're all well done. Even if I don't like the topic, they do sports. They have sports shows. They have their own original TV series like The Last of Us. I think it's, like shows like The Bill Maher Show, like just that are different. And John Oliver, that to me, it's such a brilliant show. This guy comes up with 30 new minutes every week, and it's informative and funny. Yeah, Max is great. All right, so I want to get to this because I saw this is very funny. The cowbell sketch on Saturday Night Live is one of the most famous ever. It was very funny when it came out. And still, to this day, people quote it, more cowbell. It's on T-shirts. This is a clip of Will Ferrell talking about when he met Christopher Walken, who was a guest star on Saturday Night Live that week and was in the skit. And this is Will Ferrell talking about it with him.
I go to see Christopher Walken years later in a play. I say hello to him backstage, and he's like, you know, you've ruined my life. What? People during the curtain call bring cowbells and ring them. The other day I went for an Italian food lunch, and the waiter asked if I wanted more cowbell with my pasta bolognese. And I think he was really mad at me.
Wow, no way.
And he had a little smile, but...
Well, because he had such a great career. I mean,
but, you know...
He's a great actor.
From The Deer Hunter to Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, he's amazing.
To more cowbell. That's all he gets now.
That's all he gets now? So it made a lot of people happy then...
But Christopher...
Ruined one person's life.
Ruined one person. But what are you going to do?
That's good odds.
Right?
That's decent odds, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's so great. Christopher Walken is just a treasure. He was on one of my favorite movies is Annie Hall, and I watched that recently. And he plays Diane Keaton's younger brother, I think Dwight. And he's showing Woody Allen his room, and he just says, "This is my room, Alfie." He tells Woody Allen's character, Alfie, about how sometimes he dreams about pulling his car into the other lane and hitting another car head on. And then he ends up driving them to the airport later, and it is so funny. Christopher Walken is brilliant. We got a lot of fun tonight, folks. Chris Foran is coming up. He'll be on right after the news, Conrad. He's coming by via the stream. So we'll talk to Chris about Oscar-nominated films, and then Wisconsin native and Brooklyn-based stand-up comedian Olivia Witt joins me at 7:20. Our question of the night, where are you going on vacation in late January? Let me know. I'll read it on the radio. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Honey, I'll never leave you lonely. Give my love to you only.
Follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Two brothers, Gustavo and Alejandro Cantu, will stand trial together for the shooting death of Randall Denny on Green Bay's west side in April of 2022. Attorneys for each brother have asked that they be tried separately, but Judge Thomas Walsh ruled Monday that while there may be some antagonistic defenses, he believes that the jury would be able to sort out the testimony. The Cantu brothers' trial will begin February 10th. Jacob Ventura is also charged in Denny's murder. He will be tried separately. No date has been set for his trial. I know a few people who claim to have majored in cannabis in college. Well, here in Wisconsin, you can actually take classes on cannabis, but it's not what you think. Brittany Merlot reports.
And when you hear the word cannabis, you probably think marijuana, which is illegal in Wisconsin. But professors at UWSP say the plant can be used for much more than creating a recreational drug, like being able to clean up PFAS in the soil. Biology professor Brian Behringer is spearheading a new program that aims to teach students about cannabis science and put to rest any misconceptions about the plant. Behringer says that cannabis is a fast-growing industry, and there are several career fields this program can help students get into. The program consists of 3 courses that cover cannabis history, growing environments, and the chemistry of the plant. I'm Brittany Merlot.
Some graduate students are taking the course this spring semester. Undergrads will be able to enroll for next fall. From local news to what's going on around the state, Civic Media's mission is to bring you real news and great conversation. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Well, the 2025 Super Bowl is set. It will be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, which most people don't seem that excited about. The Chiefs will be trying to three-peat, something that has never been achieved in the Super Bowl era. The Philadelphia Eagles scored the most points in an NFL championship conference game ever, but unfortunately, they can't save some of those points for the Super Bowl. Here's hoping for a good game. Timothée Chalamet plays Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. The Oscar-nominated actor came under fire for a line he ad-libbed while playing an exercise class instructor, making a joke about recently deceased President Jimmy Carter. The joke was mostly met with cringe, but people who defended him countered it was just a joke. So to summarize, Chalamet, who plays a Nobel Prize winner in a movie, made fun of a Nobel Peace Prize winner on Saturday Night Live. How noble? For more showbiz fun, tune in to Night Light with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A few flurries around this evening, mostly cloudy overnight to low around 20 to the low 20s and breezy. Sunshine for tomorrow, a high around 30 to the low 30s, but warming into the upper 40s on Thursday with sun. It's 42 right now.
Hey, it's Amanda with another new Wisco 411 for you. And if you're anything like me, you are sick of being cooped up inside. So let's get out of the house this Saturday, February 1st, and join the fun at Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary for the 19th Annual Frosty Family Fun Night. Enjoy a candlelit walk to see the animals and the waterfalls between 4 and 8 p.m. with free horse wagon rides, music, games, scavenger hunts, food trucks, and so much more. Plus, you might even get to see the wolves howling. It's $10 per family or carload, and head to WGBW.FM, click events to learn more.
In the market for a home loan? It's time to meet Kristen Ambos, the top 1% of loan originators in the U.S. and the #1 female loan officer in Wisconsin for 2 years running. With over 20 years experience, Kristen and Point Mortgage Corporation are here to serve all of your lending needs, from conventional to FHA, USDA, and VA loans. Plus, with their rate match guarantee, if they can't beat your pre-approved rate, they'll pay you $500. Call Kristen Ambos today at 920-606-1156 and let her and Point Mortgage make your home ownership dreams come true.
Dom Salvia.
Next time, Mayor Cavalier Johnson says the freeze on federal grants impacts literally tens of millions of dollars to the city of Milwaukee. Plus, should you get fired for doing porn on your own time? Tune in.
The Dom
Welcome back. 608 Anna from Madison says, hi, Pete and Conrad. I'm going to Monterey, California in May, Vail, Colorado in June, and maybe Burlington, Vermont in October. Wow, that sounds like you're making your travel agent work overtime there, Anna. That's fan. Those are all really cool places. I've only driven through Vail. I've never, I'm not a skier, but it is such a beautiful place. Monterey is great, and I've never been to Burlington, Vermont either, but that sounds like a lot of fun and a great answer. Safe travels. Anna, Tom from New Berlin says Timbuk 3 with sunglasses. Tom, we need you to elaborate. And then I was thinking maybe it was our Bob Dylan talk, but Bob Dylan was never in Timbuk 3. Timbuk 3 did open for Bob Dylan. Unless he wants to go, Conrad suggested maybe Tom wants to go to a Timbuk 3 concert for his National Vacation Day. And that works too. Thanks, Tom, for the text. All right. So we've got, I'm excited to welcome my next guest to the show. He is one of our favorite frequent flyers here at Night Light. He joins us all the way from beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where, as I understand it, it's 2 degrees colder than it is here in Green Bay. So take that, next guest. Join me in welcoming, if you would, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Conrad, that means you, for our next guest. From the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, he writes entertainment articles and does a bang-up job. Chris Foran joins me now. Chris, how are you?
I'm okay, Pete. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was kind of a mouthful, that intro. It was like a run-on sentence, but I just went with it, and I just committed
Well,
to it.
we're kind of in the year of the run-on sentence. So
Yeah, exactly. How you doing, buddy?
Okay. I'm like you were talking earlier. I'm behind on my movies. I haven't blocked out the time to watch The Brutalist yet. I need to take a day off, I think, to watch that.
How do you have a screener for The Brutalist?
No, well, I it's different. We stopped, the Journal Sentinel stopped reviewing movies about a decade ago,
Okay.
And so I generally don't watch screeners because it's kind of graft, unless I'm going to write about it or something like that. But so I just go out. I go out with everybody else. I just go out and buy stuff. Occasionally, I'll watch things in advance. If there's a Wisconsin connection, I watch Green and Gold ahead of time. And we have, weirdly enough, there's a movie coming out next week that is set in suburban Milwaukee, although it was filmed in Toronto.
Oh, really? What's that?
An action movie starring Ke Huy Quan, who won an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and better known for his roles in Goonies and Indiana Jones and a couple of Goonies. It's called Love Hurts. I have no idea what to make of it. There's an advanced screening in Milwaukee on Wednesday. I'm going to see it to see how Milwaukee it is. My guess is it won't be very much.
Yeah, that kind of hurts almost because you get excited to see actual Milwaukee.
No.
And it's going to be like this
sort
of.
If you think about it, probably the most familiar, most Milwaukee movie ever made is actually set in Cleveland.
Major League.
Right.
Right.
So,
and a lot of that is because of Bob Uecker.
Well, it's Uecker, but it's also because they couldn't get Cleveland Stadium for free, basically, and they also wanted the filmmakers to pay extras, so they came to Milwaukee, which was built. The old Milwaukee Stadium was built by the same company that built the Cleveland Stadium, and they said, "Can we shoot it there for free?" And they said, "Sure." And Milwaukeeans came out by the hundreds and worked for hours for free as extras, and it is a fond memory.
Yeah, it sure is. That worked out really well too, because I had some friends in the movie because they were Chicago based, so it was an easy hop up to Milwaukee. One of them we had on the show last week, Skip Caparis, who played Monty opposite Bob Uecker in the booth, so that was fun. But let's start with Green and Gold before we get into Oscar stuff, Chris, and maybe Green and Gold will find itself nominated for an Oscar. We had Anders on the show a couple weeks ago, and we talked to him a little bit about it. What did you think of the film?
I think I think if you're from Wisconsin, I think it has some resonance to it. I mean, even if you're not a Packer person, you know somebody who worships at the Green and Gold Shrine, and who still cringes at fourth and 26, and still talks, and still, you probably know at least three people who swear they were at the Ice Bowl game, things like that.
Right.
And the Craig T. Nelson plays a dairy farmer who believes in two things: traditional ways of farming and the Green Bay Packers. He names his cows after the members of the 1967 championship team, and things like that.
Okay.
And the story that he more or less bets the farm on whether if he can forestall his loan if the Packers win the World Series or Super Bowl. I'm sorry, sorry.
Right.
And it's okay. Nelson is really good. I am not as conversant with Door County as I ought to be. But it was shot mostly in Sturgeon Bay. It's a very odd duck for a movie. They got funding from Culver's.
Yeah, how about that?
And some kind of support from the NFL. That could have just been they didn't make them pay licensing rights for all the footage. And it's only going to be in theaters for a week. And I honestly don't know that it's playing anywhere else in the country. So
outside Wisconsin?
I don't know that for sure. I mean, it's becoming a trend. We had that documentary last year on the 1982 Brewers that also did not go very far, but people who saw it really liked that. So,
and it probably made a ton of money. The nice thing is, and I don't know this, but I'm guessing Green and Gold was not shot at a huge budget, but if they just play this thing in Wisconsin, it could clean up. And, I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes. I think you might be right, Chris, because there would probably be more, maybe not reviews. There's 4 reviews, 3 are positive. So that's a good sign. Hopefully the film will do well.
No, it's fine.
I asked Anders when he was on the show, they have this actor, Brandon Sklenar, in it, who was in 1923 and kind of plays the badass Dutton, a descendant of one of the Duttons. And he's a really good actor. And I was like, wow, this is a coup to get this guy in the movie. And it reminded me of a story I heard about the Farrelly brothers that, when Ace Ventura came out, they were filming Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey. Now all of a sudden they have the biggest movie star in America in their movies. Right. It was like Merry Christmas. And he said, yeah, that's kind of what happened here. Like 1923 came out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I wish him, he was a very nice guy. I hope the film does all right.
No, I mean, it's always nice when people make a movie like that. And obviously people have a lot of passion for it as a project.
Yeah. And, seems like a nice feel good film. So, all right, let's turn to the Oscars. What are your? Do you have overall thoughts about the film? Let's start here, Chris. What do you think about? I like that. It took me a year or two to get used to this, but I kind of like that they nominate 10 films now. Where do you stand on that?
I'm in the middle. You know, they used to do that like in the 30s. They did that. You know, they
really?
They went
Okay.
from having like 3 in each category to 10, and it was because there was a studio system and they wanted everybody to have a piece. You know, and so you'd have things like it was 1933, I think, or 32. Grand Hotel won an Oscar for Best Picture. Won the Oscar for Best Picture, and it didn't have it had no other nomination.
Oh,
which is
wow.
kind of a weird thing when you think.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I mean, I think what's interesting is when they changed that rule, it was up to 10. And the first time I think they did 8. It was in response to Dark Knight, I think, not being nominated. I think that was the controversy. And
okay.
So now it's always 10, you know, and then now you get the bonus controversy of movie getting nominated for Best Picture, but not director, and then people get upset. You have to quietly point out that there's only 5 slots for director. So unless there's somebody's doing 2 movies, you're kind of out of luck, you know. But it's okay. I mean, I used to get really upset about how foolish the Golden Globes were, and then I realized I was arguing about the integrity of an award show. So I try to keep. Having said that, I always compare the Oscars are to the entertainment world what the World Series is to sports. There's a built-in historicity to it.
Yeah.
You know, if you win Best Picture, you're doing the same thing that Casablanca did. Nobody remembers who won the NBA title 10 years ago, unless it's your team. But the Oscars connect all the way back, you know, and and so it deserves some, you know, it deserves to be some serious. And again, it is still just show business. And in the old days, you know, when it was a big studio system, the studios would pressure their employees to vote for their movie. So MGM, which had the most employees, won Best Picture every year, you know, and and I know you're going to ask me to make predictions. I'm not sure I can. It used to be pretty easy because there were certain kinds of movies always won. And if you look back before, well, really until this 10 nomination thing, but certainly until the last 15 years or so, the movie that almost always won was the movie that showed Hollywood that was how Hollywood wanted the rest of the world to see it. I always say that they don't call it best movie, they call it best picture. So it might be a huge spectacle like Titanic, or it might be Midnight Cowboy. So see, we can be edgy and trendy too, you know, and it comes down to that sort of thing. But it's hard. I mean, I think it's fine. I think I've seen a lot of stories saying that people are kind of second guessing the list as kind of a weak list of nominees for Best Picture. I don't know that I think that's true. I've seen 8 of the 10, and I haven't seen the one that some people think is going to win, The Brutalist. But of the others, there's none of those that would embarrass me. I always give it the Crash test. When Crash won for Best Picture, that was kind of like a not a good choice, and not even among the ones that were nominated. So, is there a movie that years from now I'm going to say, "Ooh, that was not a good pick"? And you mean even you mentioned A Complete Unknown. I enjoyed the heck out of that movie.
I did too.
I don't care that it's not accurate. I really don't. The performances were good. I love that they sang their parts. I think that makes a huge difference in those kind of movies. It was a story about a guy finding himself and then finding that where he was not necessarily where he wanted to be and trying to go in a different direction. But I'm also biased because I grew up with that music. You know, it's like one of my favorite movies from last year was this movie Saturday Night, about the first episode of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And I have to be biased. I was 14. I saw it happen, you know, and I remember being gobsmacked watching Andy Kaufman saying, "What the heck is that?" and loving every minute of it. So so I'm biased. I'm not sure, but I just saw Nickel Boys over the weekend. It's probably a little bit much for some people just because it's kind of not traditionally dramatically structured, but it's really beautiful. Wicked is a heck of a thing. I mean, I didn't know the play at all, and
same.
I hate movies that are 2 parts, but I thought they did a really good job of that. Yeah. It's just very well done, very satisfying, great performances. Conclave, that would hold up years from now. I think it's a really a good movie, and it makes unexpected turns.
I thought Conclave was really good too. I want to ask you about, my guest is Chris Foran. He writes for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. We're talking Oscars. He's seen 8 of the 10 nominated films. I've seen 5.5. And the half part, Chris.
Yeah.
I have to admit, comes from Emilia Perez. When I was just talking about this before you came on, when I saw what it was about, I thought it sounded awesome. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see how this drug cartel leader gets a sex change up. It sounded like a really different, cool movie.
Right.
And then I found out it was a musical, and I started watching it, and the look of it is so strange to me. And half the time it's all in Spanish, so I've got song lyric subtitles, then I've got dialogue subtitles under that. They're on for like 2 seconds. It's a very aggravating watch. What did you think of the film? And I'm grading it based on how hard it is to watch.
Right.
So I don't even know if I like the movie yet. But what did you think of Emilia Perez?
I have increasing problems with my hearing, so I watch everything with subtitles now. So that never bothers me.
Okay.
But it's a lot. There's a lot going on there, and I will say that a couple of the songs in the second half are really powerful and the scenes are very moving. And you probably read about this. There's been some backlog in the LGBTQ community about the main character is played by a trans woman, but the whole, because it's drug lord and all that stuff and how that positions Mexico. And there were complaints about Selena Gomez's Mexican accent, even though that's her heritage. She doesn't speak Spanish fluently. And I thought Zoe Saldana was amazing. I thought she was really good.
She's just great. Yeah.
She's great in a lot of things. Yeah. And it is, in the old days, it's the kind of movie that would have been lauded for its ambition. And I think that's kind of why it's nominated. I think it's
definitely that.
It's very powerful. I candidly, it's better in one sitting probably. But I think your way of watching is the way a lot of people do watch these things. So I think they have to account.
I always prefer one sitting, but sometimes it's just when I put it on at night, I know I'm in trouble. But we're going to do a very quick break. We'll be back with more with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's Chris Foran talking Oscars. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
When it did I fall, I wanna cry, cry, cry alone. When you're feeling blue, I'm waiting just for you. Someone's living for love.
Listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for the Maggie Dawn Show.
Hey, it's me time at Chula Vista. Time for you to pamper yourself. Wisconsin's most complete resort experience has everything you want. Fine-tuned for 70 years by 4 generations of the Kaminsky family, Chula Vista can be easygoing with colorful scenic river walks, 18 holes of classic golf, a relaxing spa, or you can go all out in 80,000 square feet of indoor water park. Ziplining through canyon views in Chula's Aerial Adventure Park. And dining comes any way you like it, from pizza to Wisconsin's #1 ranked steakhouse. More than 600 guest rooms to choose from with $10 million in updates. Chula Vista, everything you've been wanting, all right here on site. Check it out at chulavistaresort.com.
Miles and miles of freshly groomed cross-country and hiking trails. Ski, sled, snowshoe. Warm up at our indoor water park. chulavistaresort.com.
Are you ever questioning when life will slow down? Are you ever thinking of just relaxing and enjoying the simple things? All of this is possible, even while still being in the workforce. Worthington, Minnesota is a town growing, yet it's nothing like metro life. Professional and labor jobs, a beautiful lake, bike trails, recreation, acres of public hunting, festivals, and great people. Slow down. We're just a short drive away, so come join us. Worthington, it's worth a look.
Matt Nair on air.
Dan Schaefer, Civic Media's political editor.
No court in the country came closer to overturning the 2020 election results than the conservative majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And we have Brad Schimmel, who's been siding with January 6 rioters. So if you want your vote to count going forward, show up and vote on April 1st. Let's channel that energy into the Wisconsin Supreme Court race.
Matt Nair.
question tonight in honor of National Vacation Day. Where are you going? Let us know where you want to go in late January for a nice break. I said New Zealand. Conrad said Wisconsin Dells. Apparently because Eagle River was booked up maybe, or flights were too expensive. I don't know. But let us know where you want to go. 855-752-4842. I'm talking with Chris Foran from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. We're talking Oscars. Chris, it's funny, when you were saying that before about Best Director and not winning Best Picture, I know that's been an age-old controversy, but I think the most egregious, I don't know if it's egregious, but I thought George Miller should have won in 2015 for Fury Road.
Mhm.
They took home so many Oscars, and I'm like, how do you win all this stuff and not give the best director his due? I just don't understand that. But by that same argument, maybe just because Emilia Perez is nominated for 13, maybe that's the favorite?
Well, I mean, here's the other thing is that, the most it can, first of all, the most it can win is 12 because it's got 2 in the same category, and that you get some of that kind of stuff going on, and a musical is going to get nominated for things like costumes and music and stuff like that. I think. Well, I was looking. I went when you had mentioned that. I went to look to see who won for best director, and it was Iñárritu for The Revenant, which is a pretty powerful movie. I mean,
yeah.
One of the things about the Oscars that is really hard for most of us to get our heads around is that there'll be this great thing, and you'll say, "How come it didn't win?" And then you look at what won. Oh yeah. Example I always use is Casablanca. Humphrey Bogart didn't win for Best Actor. I mean, it's a definitive performance. It's
for sure.
It's America in a person. But the guy who won was a guy named Paul Lucas for a movie called Watch on the Rhine, which his job is he's a professional fascist fighter. He's married to Betty Davis. It's a Lillian Ellen play, and his performance is amazing. Well, Clark Gable lost for Gone with the Wind. The guy he lost to, Robert Donat, who's in Goodbye, Mr. Chips. It is one of the most beautiful performances I've ever seen. So, that's the problem is that you have one winner. It's bad. It's just bad form to have a good standout moment in a year where somebody else has a good standout.
Yeah, that's well said. Keeping in that spirit, let's talk about A Complete Unknown because I really liked it. I thought it was I took my 80-year-old parents. They are the same age as Dylan basically, but didn't really listen to him when they were younger. They love the movie. It's just good movie making. Having said that, I feel like if Timothée Chalamet wins, it might be because he did his own thing. He did a lot. He looked like him. He acted like him, did the voice, sang. But were those performances, and Ed Norton too. Ed Norton was really likable in the movie as Pete Seeger.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've seen him act more in other films where there was more to do. I'm wondering if those performances, and Monica Barbaro too, who sang beautifully, I wonder if, they did enough to win those awards as good as they were and in as good a film as they were in.
It's hard to say. I mean, in the old days, before 15 years or so ago, you could go back and look at every single supporting actor and actress win, and it would always be the person who was the spiritual heart of the movie. In that definition, Edward Norton is a perfect supporting actor nomination.
Yeah.
I thought it was wonderful, and I was relieved that they didn't show him taking an axe to the sound cables, which is a legend that never happened. And I mean, I don't care if it's true, but that always has bugged me because that's not Pete Seeger, But I thought James Mangold, who made the movie, and I think he's nominated for Best Director also. He made Walk the Line, which is a very similar movie,
right?
And that it's not the whole story of Johnny Cash's life or June Carter's life. It's a segment of their life, and it's like a defining period of their life. And again, they sang their parts, and it just makes this performances different. It makes them more human. I thought they were also. I thought I'm a big Elle Fanning fan. I thought she was also great.
She was great. Yeah.
It's hard to. I had to remind myself that Monica Barbaro was one of the pilots in Top Gun Maverick. I totally forgot that.
Oh wow!
That's how good she is. She's just so she's so self-possessed. And Chalamet is, you think he's doing an impression. He's the character. You forget that it's Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, he was.
And he was. I know a lot of people aren't fans of it. I thought he was really good as Willy Wonka in the Wonka movie. Same thing. He's he's in the character he's playing. He's good in the Dune movies too. He's
Right.
a really solid actor.
He's a great actor. He was great in Little Women.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah, and
Call
I
Me by
love
Your
that,
Name, sure.
and I totally agree with you when it comes to telling, like, when biopics. Like, I'm really curious. I like that the Springsteen pick coming up is just about the making of Nebraska.
Right.
I feel like I get so bored when it's like, here's where Bob Dylan was born. Here's a baby that looked like Bob Dylan as a baby. I don't need to see all that. I thought this just held everybody's interest. It was just really well done. We've got about a minute before a break, Chris. Conclave. So you really like? I thought that was I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would.
Right. Well, I think that's the thing, is that it's just so well done. The guy who made it is a great director. He made that remake of All Quiet on the Western Front a couple of years ago, Edward Berger, and finds everybody in it is, never does anything but great. Stanley Tucci and Ray Fiennes, and there's a lot of talk about the big twist at the end. That didn't bother me so much. I thought Fiennes' character's arc was so interesting.
Yeah.
And
you kind of expected him to be the guy, or that's where they were kind of leading you. But you're right. I love the ending, and I wish I could give it away, but I won't, because it was
and one of the things that I think is really interesting about it is that making a movie about faith is really hard, because most of the movies that are about faith are poorly done because they just kind of assume you're in, And this is a movie that's about faith. It's a conversation about faith. It isn't anti-church.
Right.
It's about people.
No, it was character based, and you're right. It was like people in that faith and not in that faith. It was just a good movie, kind of like a Complete Unknown. Chris, can we keep you through the news for a few more minutes?
Sure.
All right, Chris Foran is here. Civic Media's news team is about to tell you what you need to know, and we will be back with more movie and TV talk. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite Light. Great to have you with me on the Civic Media Radio Network.
97.9 WGBW. Earl Ingram.
On the next show, we'll talk with Flack and the campaign for lead-free water before.
Has been, it's not the guns, it's mental health. Well, no worries, folks. Governor Evers has got you covered. He introduced a plan to put millions of dollars into mental health, particularly for young kids. And the Republicans in the chamber did not clap. If you can't be it for kids, then what the heck can you be for? Jeepers criminy.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us. This is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. Another lawsuit against another Trump executive order. 6 active duty trans military personnel and 2 former members seeking reinstatement are suing.
The Pentagon doesn't keep statistics and data on this, so it's not quite clear what type of population we're talking about, how many people would actually be impacted on this. But certainly this executive order goes even further than what the president had signed last week and does open the door to that ban on transgender people serving in the U.S. military.
ABC's Karen Travers. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's bid to pause federal funding while it checks to make sure it doesn't include any progressive initiatives it doesn't like. The Supreme Court of Illinois announced it will take up the state's appeal to keep fired Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson behind bars until his trial. He's charged with fatally shooting Sonia Massey in her home in Springfield, Illinois, last July. This is ABC News.
Appleton Cigar Company on College Avenue has been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, you need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 706 cigars to choose from in a walk-in humidor. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Open for over 100 years, but currently home to fewer than 100 students, Columbus Elementary School in Appleton will close in June. The Appleton Area School District Board of Education voted unanimously Monday night to relocate the students from Columbus to Edison Elementary. Students living south of Wisconsin Avenue who attend Franklin Elementary and those living east of Richmond who attend Dunlap Elementary will also be moved to Edison Elementary next year. According to the latest Wisconsin employer survey by the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, or WMC, 86% of Wisconsin business leaders support President Donald Trump's plan to impose tariffs on goods imported from China. As for the tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, only 44% of those surveyed support the 25% tariffs. Meanwhile, 73% of those surveyed support using tariffs as a negotiating tactic to slow illegal immigration. And when asked how increasing tariffs would impact their businesses, 50% said it would have a negative effect. 26% said it would be positive, while 24% said it would have no impact. This same survey from WMC shows Wisconsin business leaders want to see immigration reform, with 89% saying the plan should start with securing the U.S. southern border. The respondents didn't want a complete stoppage of immigration. They overwhelmingly supported updating the nation's guest worker program to include increasing the number of visas for specialized workers and adding new visa options for high-demand workers to address Wisconsin's labor shortage. From local news to what's going on around the state.
A Packers coach gets a contract extension. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Packers have signed Rich Bisaccia to a 2-year contract extension. The 64-year-old Bisaccia is the special teams coordinator and assistant head coach. In his 3 years in Green Bay, he's improved their special teams rankings slightly, but is also viewed as a close advisor to Matt LaFleur. The team has also hired back Luke Getsy as an assistant coach. Getsy has served as an offensive coordinator for the Bears and the Raiders. It's possible Adam Stanovich could be hired away by another team as a coordinator who could be the play caller on game day. NBA, the Bucks with a 125-110 win over the Utah Jazz. Giannis and Damian Lillard each with 35 points. Chris Middleton off the bench with 22. Head coach Doc Rivers.
You could see Chris had live legs tonight, and that was good. As a staff, we have to be very patient with it.
The Bucks road trip continues tonight against the Portland Trail Blazers. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News. Your news in depth. Find it in the news section at WGBW.FM.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A few flurries around this evening, mostly cloudy overnight to low around 20 to the low 20s and breezy. Sunshine for tomorrow, a high around 30 to the low 30s. But warming into the upper 40s on Thursday with sun. It's 42 right now.
The Todd Alba Show.
The argument from my former party has been, it's not the guns, it's mental health. Well, no worries, folks. Governor Evers has got you covered. He introduced a plan to put millions of dollars into mental health, particularly for young kids. And the Republicans in the chamber did not clap. If you can't be it for kids, then what the heck can you be for? Jeepers, criminy.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Maggie Dawn.
RFK's confirmation hearings start. Will his vaccine skepticism put your kids' lives at risk? We discuss next.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who likes to dine and dash, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back to hour number 2. Kicking off hour number 2 on a Tuesday night here, broadcasting live statewide from beautiful downtown Green Bay, where it is balmy today, ladies and gentlemen. Chris from Sauk County answered our question of the day in honor of National Vacation Day. Where are you going? That's the question. Chris says, I leave for a cruise out of New Orleans on Thursday. 4 points of call, 2 in Mexico, 1 in Belize, and 1 in Honduras. That is living, especially in January. Well done, Chris. Steve from the 920 in Florida, he says, Conrad's grandmother is one step ahead of the national plan for a vacation day by already flying into warmer climates in Ocala, Florida. Why don't you go there, Conrad, instead of the Dells? Nothing against the Dells. But.
I definitely could.
Yeah.
Then I have to take vacation days. And,
I get it. Let's ask Chris where he would go. Chris Foran is with us from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Chris, thanks for sticking around a few extra minutes here. Where would you go? Do you take a winter vacation?
Well, I just had a grandchild, so I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, wow. Congrats. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. 11 years ago, my wife and I we had a daughter studying abroad in Europe. So we went to London and Paris in January. And I can say that's not a good time to go. And it was still amazing. It was still great. I'd go back.
Very
In fact, we went to Paris last year. I would go again.
Well, I've never been there. I would love to go to Paris. I don't care what month it would be. I would love to see Paris someday. That's a great trip. Okay, so we were talking Oscar films. We covered Conclave. What if you had to guess? I mean, not guess, but if you said The Brutalist is kind of a possible favorite, I've heard that. What did your gut tell you? What would you like to see win so far, Chris?
Well, to me, it's like I just look at in the bigger picture. I just don't want to have something that's bad, or like, I mean, I think, and it's not a bad movie by any means, but The Substance, for example, would be an odd choice for Best Picture.
It's
a very complicated movie, and it's a body horror movie. It's very good acting by Demi Moore and Nora Wally. Demi Moore is like a jazzercise instructor on TV, a big hit show. And she ages out. She turns 50, so they fire her. And there's this substance that you can get called The Substance that, for a week at a time, you can makes you like 20-something years old. And it's got all sorts of great issues in it, but it's also very much a lot like Emilia Perez. I think The Brutalist is the kind of movie that's ambitious. It's a big epic about America and what it means to be an American, and the American dream and crushing the American dream. That would be good. It would be okay choice. Complete Unknown would be a good choice. I don't think it's going to win, but that could be a good choice. I think Wicked is not a terrible choice. I mean, they took something that had a lot riding on it, and there was a lot of ambition in it, and it holds up very well. It's very entertaining, and it doesn't lag. And one of the things with Emilia Perez is it's American. I don't think Americans speak musical. I mean, we used to, in my parents' time. It was not a surprise to us when people burst into song. We just watched it. Now I think we just have trouble with it, and filmmakers do too. I mean, La La Land, the first 30 minutes is like an old school Hollywood musical, and then they stop doing it for an hour, and then they remember that they were doing it, and they come back to it at the end, and I think Emilia Perez has trouble with that sometimes. It's not,
and it's a foreign
it's not
language
always
film.
music. I'm sorry.
And it's a foreign language film too. It's music, and I mean, unless they change it up and there's English the rest of the way, it's anyway. Yeah. I think it's got a couple strikes against it right there. Maybe I agree about Wicked.
I think I could see Emilia Perez winning. I could also see it not winning. There's some people who are advocating it for to make a political statement by picking it.
Right.
Whatever. I mean, I don't think that's not what the Oscars are really doing ever.
Hollywood would not get political.
It's about money. It's always about
right.
But I think they're all good choices. I personally I think the one I like best is probably, of them when they're nominated, probably A Complete Unknown. But it doesn't have to be that movie.
Right.
I think and we didn't, one we haven't even talked about, Honora. Honora is really an amazing movie. It's very intense. It's about a sex worker who ends up marrying the son of a Russian oligarch, and the family tries to stop the marriage. And the woman, Mikey Madison, is her name. She's unbelievable. She's really, really good.
She's nominated, right? I think she's
nominated. She is, and
and
somebody else in my movie's nominated too. And It's the guy who made it. This guy made the movie called Sean Baker made a movie called The Florida Project that had Wisconsin's own Willem Dafoe got nominated for that movie. He makes movies about that side of the world, and these are people, and it's a really solid movie. I can't really imagine it winning, but it's intense for some people, I think. But
my guess
I could see Conclave winning. I could see Brutalist winning. I could see Wicked winning for sure. Those are
here's one I don't see winning, Chris, but I really enjoyed it. First I thought it was a comedy. That's how they build it. And they said, and the comedy A Real Pain. And I watched that the other night, and I really, as much as Kieran Culkin's character drove me crazy in Succession, it was kind of the same character in this, and I loved it in this. I just really enjoyed the film.
I was going to mention that there were several movies that aren't nominated for Best Picture that are among my favorite movies from last year. And Real Pain would be one. 2 animated movies that are nominated for both. There's a movie called Flow.
I've heard that's great.
It's from Latvia, and it's nominated for Best International Feature and Best Animated Feature. Wild Robot, really good movie, really well done. Also animated. What's the other one I was trying to think of? We even talk about. I mean, Dune Part 2 is very good. I thought Dune Part 2 was better than Dune Part 1.
I did too. I would be surprised if Dune 2 won, though. But who knows? You never know what's going to happen.
Right? Yeah, you never know that stuff. But I mean, there were every year people complain about the movies, and every year I say, you know what? There were about 15 really good movies that I'm going to come back to last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And Real Pain would definitely be one of those.
My guest is Chris Foran. He writes entertainment columns for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Check out his work there. He joins us here on Nightlight. We're talking about the Oscars. So before I let you go, Chris, I know you said you finished watching Squid Game season 2. I have to admit, I don't know anything about Squid Game. What is this show for people that might be curious? What kind of show is it?
Well, the first season, a couple of years ago, it was probably one of the first big hits of the pandemic, and it's a Korean series about people who are down on their luck, who are like desperate. You know, they have huge debt in Korea, and somebody approaches them that they can take part in this game, and they could conceivably win an insane amount of money, and which all sounds odd, but okay. And they all go to this thing, and the first game is a game of hide and seek, it's red light, green light, and you know when they say red light, you're supposed to stop. Well, the people who don't stop moving, they get killed. and nobody knows that's coming. It's horrifying. And they all vote and every round you can vote to get out of the game, and they all vote to get out of the game. This is in the first season, and as they all go back to their lives, they realize they have no choice. They all end up going back, which is the commentary that is on Korean life and American life similar, just how crushing debt can be to people, and how having no hope that you'll actually throw yourself into that kind of situation.
Wow.
The lead guy, who's this guy who ends up making his way through the game, is really good. I forget what his name is. And the second season, he goes back to try to shut the game down. And it feels like the second season is only 7 episodes. It feels like a part 1, which I think it is. Okay. And let's just say it doesn't go his way. But it's a lot though. It's very violent. It's very intense. But the first couple episodes or the first season are just, you don't see them coming because, you know, there's lots of slaughter and mayhem, and you think, that's what it is. And it's really not. It's very much a commentary on haves and have-nots and all that stuff. And it's very well written. It's very well done.
I got to check it out. I know I've been hearing about it, and it just has such a weird title, and I just kind of like ignored it. And now I just realize I have to check it out. It'd be irresponsible if I didn't. We just have a couple minutes left, Chris. I wanted to ask you about one more show that I really liked, Black Doves.
Yeah, I like that too.
What did you think of that film or that show?
Well, I'm a Keira Knightley fan. I think she's somebody who always ends up in something interesting and does something interesting with it. And Ben Whishaw is always really good too. She's the wife of the Minister of Defense in Britain, but she's also like a secret super spy or something. And somebody in her life gets killed, and she tries to solve it, and one thing leads to another, and there's lots of mayhem. The British stories always seem to do it better, don't they? I mean, it just feels like more fun, you know, and they're smarter, and even when they screw up, it's more entertaining. And
on paper, there's a lot going on in that show too, and you kind of have to take a leap. It's like, wait a minute, she's a double agent and she's married to this high profile, but they pull it off. It's just really well done, and it's very intense.
It is very well done. It is very well done. Well, it reminds me of it reminds me that I need to rewatch all of the James Bond movies.
There you go. Hey, buddy, thanks so much for your time as always.
Thanks
good
for having
talking
me.
movies with you, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, but we'll do it again soon, I hope.
Okay. Good.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Chris Foran from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Check out his work there. He such a good writer, and he's always fun when he is on Nightlight. So Conrad's mom is checking in. I'm going to try to guess what your mom is going to say without reading the text first.
Okay.
I'm going to say your mom is going to say she's homesick and wants to go to Wisconsin. All right, let's see what she says. Paula from the 920 says, "Hi, Pete and Conrad. We're planning to go to Universal for my birthday next week, then a visit to the UP in July with the kids."
That's Michigan. Sorry.
It should be Wisconsin, let's be honest.
I know. Trust me.
And that's close. The UP is like the suburbs of Wisconsin. That's not too bad. Universal's fun. I mean, I used to go to the one in LA all the time, and I took my son Joe there when he was a kid, and God, we had a great time. Have you been to the one in Florida?
Yes, I have.
I imagine it's pretty much the same thing without mountains in the background, but that's fun. Hey, we got to have Brittany Merlot on because this is the third time I drove home last night, and just south of Peshtigo, I'm in whiteout snow. Nothing predicted, nothing on my weather app. I literally, I didn't have to slow down because it had just started, but by the time I got home, it was all over the road, and it was pretty much gone this morning, but that's the third time that's happened to me driving.
Last night, really?
Last night.
Wow.
It was crazy. And I love snow and driving at night.
Yeah.
So you put the two of them together. It was a lot of fun. All right, coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to welcome a new guest. I'm very excited to have this guest on, Olivia Witt. She is a Wisconsin native and Brooklyn-based stand-up comedian. She will be here next on Nightlight. Not here, on the stream. It's the same thing. Get in on the fun. What is our question of the night is, where are you going? It's late January in Wisconsin, and it's National Plan a Vacation Day. So tell us where you're going. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump returned to office, sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Right out of the gate, he took a number of actions on his top issue, immigration. Perhaps the most troubling of these is one aiming to end birthright citizenship in America. An immigration attorney I talked to told me, "We're going to sit through a lot of BS over the course of the next weeks, months, and years, but this is the big one." My take? This action from the Trump administration is despicable, unconstitutional, and fundamentally anti-American. The day after the order was issued, Governor Tony Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul joined a coalition of 20 states challenging this action in court. This legal battle will be a tremendously important one for all of us to follow.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area and on our website at civicmedia.us. The Maggie Dawn Show.
Seems everywhere in the state, housing has just gotten so expensive. Our current president ran on promises to help the middle class, and I'd like to know what he's going to do about the housing shortages. I went through the executive orders. I read through the speech transcript a couple of times. Nothing he really said or did in the first couple days has anything to do with helping the middle class.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4.
Tomorrow night on Nightlight, we have the legendary one and only Frank Hermans will be here in the studio talking about his new show that opens at the Meyer Theater, I believe, in just about a week. And then Ben Reiser from the Wisconsin Film Festival will be here to talk movies. Ben is a avid movie watcher, and we'll talk about the Wisconsin Film Festival, which is right around the corner. Right now, it is my pleasure to welcome to Nightlight for the first time a Wisconsin native but Brooklyn-based stand-up comedian. She's very funny, and she joins us here on Nightlight on the stream, Olivia Witt. Olivia, hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. How's it going?
It's going well, you know. It's definitely an adjustment to move into Brooklyn from Wisconsin. Definitely a big fish, small pond situation turned into, jumping right into the ocean.
Just the opposite. Is that where you are now? Are you in Brooklyn?
Yes, I'm in my very tiny Brooklyn apartment.
Oh, that is such a great New York apartment.
As you can
Look
see,
at that.
I have like the big closet behind me. The ceilings are really tall, just so you don't notice that like the apartment itself is very small. I didn't realize how much of a wide shot this was going to be. I take a lot of Zoom calls right here, and normally it doesn't cut into my bed, but as you can see, like I was fixing my suitcase earlier, so I have my tools out, and just more stuff in the background than I'm used to, but.
You're going somewhere soon? Are you hitting the road, or what are you packing up for?
Well, I am someone who is constantly on the road, so much so that my suitcase is just constantly out. I just got back from DC. I did 2 shows there last week. I did one on Wednesday and one on Friday. And then I am soon going to be heading back there to do a show on the 5th. And then I will be back in Wisconsin the weekend of the 16th. I'm going to be doing a show. I'm going to be at Working Draft on the 13th in Madison. And then I'm also going to be doing a show with Cheshire Cat Comedy for Valentine's Day on the 15th, talking about all of my bad dating stories. So
nice.
Be sure to get tickets for that if you're in town.
Before we jump too far into your career, how was I first learned of you from the Chicago Comedy All-Stars, who were nice enough to invite a Wisconsin Comedy All-Star to the Memories Ballroom in Port Washington, I believe. How did that show go?
Oh yeah. It's what a cast of characters that was. Those Comedy All-Star guys. When I tell you, I called it my Mamma Mia gig because it kind of looked like any of them could be my dad.
It's like you and all the old guys.
Yeah, me and all the old guys. We went to the Memories Ballroom in Port Washington, a little bit outside of Milwaukee. I was the youngest person in there by far.
By decades, yeah.
Yeah, really kind of had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find things that I had in common with those folks. But
they couldn't find another older white guy, so they invited you onto the show. Is that how that worked?
Oh, well, it is fun. I'm getting up there being like, well, you know how dating's rough? And everyone's like, we're married. We're fully.
Can't relate.
Can't relate. Yeah. And then all the old guys get up there and it's like, who's having problems with their joints? And the crowd goes wild.
Give us a little background about you before we jump into the inside baseball comedy stuff. Like, how long have you been doing this? How did you get started? And tell us a little bit about your upbringing, if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like there's kind of 2 paths you can take towards stand-up, which is you can either come at it from a writing perspective, meaning you've always written down funny things, but are now trying to get up on the stage. Or you can kind of come at it from a theater background and then figure out the writing part later. And I was very much a theater kid growing up. I did improv in college. I actually moved out to Wisconsin moved out to Madison after school and
where'd you go to school?
William and Mary in Virginia.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
Yep. And moved to Madison out of school. Went to work for Epic, classically, the American dream. And everybody in Madison serves a term. If you have not worked there, you have not worked there yet. It's half the town.
You are not kidding about that. That's very true.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So are you originally from Wisconsin? Then you went to William and Mary and then you came back, or did you just pick somewhere on a map and ended up in Wisconsin?
I grew up outside of DC. I tell people in Wisconsin that I grew up in DC, and I'm now having to change that because enough people in New York are familiar with DC that it's more of like you got me. I kind of grew up in the Naperville. I grew up in Fairfax County, which is the like Naperville to Chicago kind of relationship.
Gotcha.
Where
Okay.
people who really live in DC are like, you're not from DC, but everywhere else is like, close enough.
So was Madison a good place to start comedy? I mean, I remember when I was a stand-up in the 90s, it was one of my favorite cities to work. And Comedy on State, I know, has this tremendous reputation. But starting out in a city like that, how did that go over? Was it a good place to get your chops, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it was a great place to start. I lived a block away from Comedy on State. So
wow.
Friday nights, if I wasn't doing anything, I'd just walk down there, have a drink. I knew the bartenders. It became such a good place for me to start. And it's also really nice to, I think, living in New York now, it's so saturated with comedy and there's so many people who really want to do it that I think if I had started here, it would be much more difficult. Whereas when you start in Wisconsin, they're kind of like, you're a girl? Great. We'll put you on stage.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
If you're willing to go up to the UP, where there's just a bunch of bearded men, you're considered diverse up there. So you can head on up there, do 20 minutes if you want. So yeah. And I think too, it's the club in Madison. They really do care about their local talent and they're willing to, they've always done workshops and things like that. They want to make sure that when they have some of these big name headliners come through, that they have openers that are, not only, well-versed in how to be able to host and handle the stage and things like that. But they do kind of work with you to be like, hey, here are the jokes that you're doing that we like. Here are the ones that maybe aren't working.
Wow.
They give you a lot of nice feedback there. And I really do think that's kind of helped me a lot in comedy. In addition to being able to, go a couple hours away to a bar show full of an entire town in Wisconsin,
Bearded
be able
men.
to perform. Yeah.
And their pickup trucks. All right. So Olivia Witt is my guest. She is a Brooklyn-based stand-up comedian, did a stint in Madison. I thought she was a native Wisconsinite, but we will be back after the news, and I want to hear some of these dating stories you speak of, Olivia. I think that could be fun, and we'll hear a little bit of your stand-up as well. So we'll do all that after the news, after Civic Media's award-winning news team tells you what you need to know. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home of Mino and the Mayor.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. More on what that means for our Wisconsin waters.
Salt is also called sodium chloride. It's a mineral substance of great importance, as chlorides persist in the environment forever and cause significant impacts to fish, aquatic life, and human health. And in Wisconsin, we're seeing evidence of freshwater salinization syndrome, which is a condition where our freshwater becomes more like ocean water in terms of its saltiness. So now is the time to make a change and reduce salt use when we can. These increased chloride loads are partially due to road salting, but chlorides also enter Wisconsin waters because of water softeners and fertilizers.
I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. A forgotten actor joins the cast of a forgotten TV show. I always wondered why Jason Patric never achieved bigger status as an actor. He always does solid work, and now will be doing it on a TV show that has been demoted from network TV to Peacock, but is part of a huge franchise known as Law & Order. Patrick, who is Jackie Gleason's grandson, will join Christopher Maloney in the cast of Law & Order Organized Crime for Season 5 as Detective Tom McKenna. There is no official date as to when Season 5 will drop. One of Pete's picks, a complete unknown. I'm not exactly going out on a limb here as it's Oscar nominated. The film follows Bob Dylan's transition from folk and the acoustic guitar to rock and playing a more electric sound. The narrative uses Dylan's music as a through line, starting with his arrival in New York at the age of 19. 3 of the film's cast members, Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, and Monica Barbaro, are all nominated for Oscars. Definitely worth a look. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A few flurries around this evening, mostly cloudy overnight to low around 20 to the low 20s and breezy. Sunshine for tomorrow, a high around 30 to the low 30s, but warming into the upper 40s on Thursday with sun. Currently 40 degrees.
Who wants a free Bloody Mary or a mimosa? I bet that got your attention. It's Amanda with your new Wisco 411, and on Wednesday, January 29th, you can watch Mino and the Mayor live at Heights Pub and Parlor as we get together to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. Enjoy a complimentary Bloody Mary or mimosa the morning of the show as you watch the guys, well, be the guys, live, in person, with special guests. Go ahead and check it out. Go to WGBW.FM and click events to learn more.
Hi, I'm Michael Friedman, CEO of Simple Life Hospitality. Let us take the hassle out of vacation rental property management. We'll maximize your earnings and handle every detail from cleaning to maintenance and repairs. For guests, enjoy a stay that feels like home with hand-selected properties, personal touches like local recommendations, and extras like concierge service that will make your trip unforgettable. Whether you're a homeowner or a traveler, experience the Simple Life. Visit simpleliferentals.com.
John Mino and Jim Schmidt.
On Wednesday, we'll be live at Heights Pub and Parlor on Washington Street in Green Bay to help.
Hey, this is John Grise, also Uncle Rico, and you're listening to Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Gonna be some sweet sounds coming down.
Welcome back. From the 818, Bridget says, Mackinac Island. Great choice. I assume she means in the summer, though. Love the bike ride around the island. An absolutely great place to visit. Well done, Bridget. I love Mackinac Island. And Steady Eddie. Whoa, Steady Eddie wrote. That's a booklet. We'll read that after we won't make Olivia sit through Steady Eddie's text because it's a mini series, Olivia, but we'll get to it. He's one of our best texters. All right, Olivia Witt is with me. She's a stand-up comedian based in Brooklyn, New York. She did some time in Madison as well, and you can see her there in mid-February. We will get that information as well. Very funny stuff. Olivia, I really like your comedy. Why Brooklyn? What made you? I remember when I was in the 90s, half my friends went to New York. The rest of us went to L.A., and a lot of them lived in Brooklyn. Is Manhattan just too expensive, or why Brooklyn?
Well, this is so funny too, because I was a big fan of Sex and the City growing up, and I was like,
you mean the show, right?
Yes. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I moved to New York and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to rewatch it. It's going to be phenomenal. This is so my life now. But then you're watching it and those girls just sit around and every other word out of their mouth is like, oh my gosh, if I lived in Brooklyn, I would absolutely off myself. This is not Brooklyn sucks so much, and you're just like, Jesus.
Really?
They hate it. I did not realize how much they hated Brooklyn until I started watching that show again. And they're like, things you got to know about us. We love shoes and we hate anywhere that isn't Manhattan. And you're like, oh, okay.
So how do you like it?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's significantly cheaper, which is nice. My neighborhood is pretty Jamaican Caribbean centric. Like they serve goat in my grocery store.
Oh, wow.
Like, you know, like where you'd have fried chicken at like a Kroger or a Pick and Save. They have just goat. It's like pieces of goat that you can put into like a little to-go box with veggies and fruit and things like that.
Have you done the goat? Have you tried it?
Not grocery store goat. That's really not. They have like chicken salad wraps next to that, and if I'm ever needing a grab or go option, I just always go to that. But the goat's a little much for me. But yeah, you can get goat, you can get shark bake, which I guess is kind of like chicken bake, but with shark around the corner from where I live as well. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting food options for sure. It's very fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. All right, on your website, it says Olivia Witt is a heterosexual, but in a cool way, comedian from Madison, Wisconsin. Is it your goal to make heterosexuality cool again? That's a tall order.
That is a tall order. I don't know. It's pretty much on its way out. As someone who lives in Brooklyn, you always got to be upfront with it. I do. A lot of women have fallen in love with me. Very few men. It's kind of a weird balance, you know.
Sure. Nice to
John
have
Mulaney.
options, though.
John Mulaney has that joke about being gay and the angel being like, "Oh, that one was gay. We missed that one. We missed marking that one." I kind of feel like if you're a straight stand-up comedian and a woman, it's like, especially living in Wisconsin, you know, it's just I'm in flannel a lot. People sometimes are like, "Oh yeah, you like women, right? You're at least bisexual." And I'm like, "Nah, not even a little bit." I went to liberal arts school, real missed opportunity for me. I cannot emphasize enough. I would have been cleaning up had that been the case, I think. But unfortunately, we are still out here dating DJs. So
Well done. Oh, really? So what is a lot of your stand-up based on, you know what? Why don't we, do you mind if we play a quick clip of your stand-up? Why don't we do that and then we can break it down.
Go for it.
All right, let's do that. Here is the stand-up comedy stylings of our guest, Olivia Witt.
On a date recently at an axe throwing bar. You guys been out to that one over at, yeah? Oh man, I love that place. It's like a reverse Hooters, huh? Right? Because at Hooters you walk in and they're like, "This is Stacy. She's gonna cater to your every need." And out walks this like hot blonde woman named Stacy. But then you go over to the axe throwing bar and they're like, "This is Dave. He's gonna yell at you." And Dave walks out looking like he walked out of a Hallmark Christmas movie. Like just, he's gonna build a deck. Protect some children, maybe father mine? I don't know. I'm into it, is all I'm saying. You know, at Hooters, Stacy comes over to your table and it's just like, "Yes, boys, tell me more about crypto." You know? But at the axe throwing bar, Dave comes out and is like, "Please stop doing bits with the axe."
Please stop doing this. Well, that was hard out there. Did you go to the axe throwing bar in Madison, Olivia? Is that the one where you came up with that joke?
That is
That's
exactly
so
where I
funny.
came up with it. Yeah, I took my sister there when she came to visit. I remember too, there was something about paying for drinks or tips or something, and I had just done a gig where they had given me like a tip jar, the contents of a tip jar. So I had a bunch of ones with me, and I remember having to pay the plaid lumberjack guy in all ones, and the entire time I was like, yeah, I had just kind of a weird job. And then we left and I was like, oh my gosh, he totally thinks I'm a stripper. I should have told him I did stand-up comedy, but somehow that seemed more embarrassing at the time and I just didn't want to mention it.
More embarrassing being a comedian than a stripper. That's great. So is it hard to date? Like, you know, I used to feel bad for female comics that work the road because I always had to share a condo with a guy or two. And I couldn't even imagine what that must have been like. As I understand it, it's gotten a little better for women on the road. But what is it like dating? Like when you tell guys you're a comedian, do they respond favorably or are they like, oh boy, I know I'm going to be made fun of?
Well, it is the boring ones are always the ones that are like, please don't put me in your act. And it's like, dude, you have no chance. This has been so incredibly stale. You're totally fine. You haven't done anything weird at all. The weird ones, however, they're the ones that are like, oh, cool. Now that I know that you're a comedian, I'm gonna try to make you laugh. And you're like, you missed the whole point of this. You did not pick up what I was putting down here at all. But yeah, I mean, that's really the extent of it, is just men being like, oh, nice, now I'm gonna spend the entire date trying to make you laugh. But it does sound like if you try to hide that you're a stand-up comedian on a date, it does come across as like you have like an OnlyFans or something, because you'll just be like, I work nights a lot of the times. I have like a second job outside of my tech job where I do things. I get paid in cash a lot of the times under the table. I never really know where I'm going to be working. It makes it sound insane. It makes it sound insane. Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So where are your favorite, do you have a favorite comedy city or favorite clubs that you like to work?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm always going to be impartial to Wisconsin, having started there and having made a lot of those connections right away. I'm really good friends with Nathan Clemens, who owns the Comedy Cabin down in Janesville. My headshot's on the wall there. I have written, you get to sign your headshot when they put it on put it on the wall. So what I did was I wrote, I'm with stupid with an arrow. So that way, when they put it on the wall, whoever's headshot is next to mine gets a nice little insult.
Right.
So I always like going back and seeing that. Chicago's absolutely amazing as well. I feel like Midwest, especially, the crowds are just, people like to get drunk. People are good at laughers. In New York, it's very much, people will laugh, but they want you to go quick. So if you ever want to just kind of motor through 10 jokes in a row, New York is the place to do it. They will, if you have like smart stuff here, it works out. You can make like a lot of pop culture references that you can't in the Midwest. But if you're going for just like that great time, like I feel like Chicago, Wisconsin, I've done some stuff in St. Louis that's been amazing. It's I do like the Midwest for that kind of stuff.
Do they still, is the Catch a Rising Star still in St. Louis, or is that gone? Do you know? It used to be downtown in an old train station. It was I thought it was a fun room, a little cavernous, but just a cool old landmark.
I don't think so. I don't know though. I did not spend too much time in St. Louis. The one time I went, my car broke down. Oh, no. I drove there in like 104-degree heat and got a flat tire and like wasn't able to turn on my car to go move it because it was so hot. And I ended up calling a local auto shop, and they sent out these guys who looked like they were in a boy band. Like 3 16-year-old guys with like matching t-shirts got out of the car, and I was like, am I being punked? This is crazy. But they worked together. They were able to get a new tire on my car. We were able to start my car, and I was only like an hour late to the gig, which is too late, but
right.
A long show for folks. I think my opener had to do double his time, but
oh no, I'm sure he was sweating bullets. He probably had barely enough time to do the opening set. My guest is Olivia Witt. She is a Brooklyn-based stand-up comedian. Got her start here in Madison, and is the winner of the funniest. Oh, she was a top 5 finalist for funniest comic in Madison. Am I getting that right? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very fun. The great competition every year. If you work your way through, they eliminate people week by week. You can go vote.
Oh, wow.
It's a good time. I think they're still doing it, though.
Pretty cutthroat. Who are your influences? Like when you were growing up, who did you like to watch? And do you have someone you sort of patterned your act off? Not necessarily jokes per se, but like a persona or something? Like who influenced you when it comes to stand-up comedy?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I feel like this is a common question for a lot of folks. And I feel like my answer is always changing on who I really like right now and things like that. I think growing up, you tend to like the people who remind you of yourself. Like you tend to really like the people who are relatable to you. So for me, it's like a lot of white women. It's Taylor Tomlinson, it's Beth Stelling, it's Sarah Silverman. Amy Schumer's one of her first specials, mostly sex stuff. I think I can recite. That's the name of the special too. That's not me just being like, it's mostly sex stuff. The name of the special is mostly sex stuff. And I think it's one of the funniest things anybody's ever made. But I also feel like coming from Wisconsin, there's so many great folks who started out in Wisconsin. And I really do feel like when you start in Wisconsin, you tend to like the other folks who started in Wisconsin. So that would be like Jackie Cation, Pete Lee, Jeff Asmus. All those folks are phenomenal. And I love watching them. Little home team advantage there.
Yeah, that's great. How would you describe your act, Olivia? Are you observational? Do you have dirty jokes? Do you try to keep it clean for TV purposes?
Yeah, I am kind of shocked you were able to find a little snippet of my stand-up where I'm not swearing or talking about sex, drugs, or the rats in my apartment. That seems to be the three topics I end up talking about.
It's live radio, so we had to be a little disseminating there.
Yeah. It's I feel like I tend to be a little more, as we say in stand-up, blue, which means inappropriate. That's the official comic term. Is if you ever hear someone describe their comedy as blue, it usually means the opposite of clean.
Clinical term, yeah.
Yes. I would love to be a cleaner comic. I would like to do clean, but I think having such a little round face, I look and I wear a lot of sweaters. It's more funny if I say stuff that people don't expect.
That's funny.
So
is there someone you watch now, whether it's a friend of yours, a fellow New York comic, whomever, that you can't turn off on TV? Like not an influence from back in the day, but someone now you think is just great that we should look out for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think New York has a lot of great folks that are coming out. Josh Johnson, in particular, is someone who keeps churning out stuff with a frequency that is really unheard of. Like, if anything happens in the news, he'll have a take, he'll film 20 minutes, he'll put it online right away, and it's really good.
Impressive.
I think he writes for The Daily Show as well. So, but he's just, I think, one of the hardest working comics in New York. For more of a Midwest sentiment, I know Sam Talent, who's out in Detroit now. He's a little more of a, I would say, came up on Kill Tony, a little bit more of a conservative guy, but the language he chooses for some of his jokes and like a way that he's able to just kind of go in and out of crowd work, meaning that you don't know how much of this is a conversation versus has he prepared stuff.
Let's pick up right there when we come back. We'll do a couple more minutes here with Olivia. Thanks so much. All right, we'll be right back.
WGBW and WGBW.FM. The Todd Alba Show.
The argument from my former party has been, it's not the guns, it's mental health. Well, no worries, folks. Governor Evers has got you covered. He introduced a plan to put millions of dollars into mental health, particularly for young kids. And the Republicans in the chamber did not clap. If you can't be it for kids, then what the heck can you be for? Jeepers, criminy.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Mino and the Mayor.
Landon Jones, his commercial is a semifinalist for Doritos and could air during the Super Bowl.
I was sitting on the couch, I was eating some Doritos, I just had one in my hand, I was looking at it. Well, what if my hand got bigger? And then I was like, okay, well, what would happen if I ate it? Okay, the head would get bigger. And then, I kind of went down the rabbit hole.
I wonder if it would work there.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday morning 6 till 9 on WGBW and WISS and the Civic Media app.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding a unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody.
Through all of fatherhood's first, never stop being a dad. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Missed your favorite show live on air?
It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and
Once upon a time, you dressed so fine, through the bumps of time in your prime. Then you, people call, say beware, doll. You're bound to fall. You thought they were all.
I never know, like when I read a name of someone on the stream, I don't know if I'm saying something obscene or what, but I'm just going to say it, Conrad, because we're on late at night. Nobody cares what we say, right? We can be blue, as Olivia said. We can swear. We can't do that. Since the Sack says, shout out to the program. This might be for you too, Olivia, because Since the Sack had another comment, shout out to the dispensary down there in Janesville. I didn't know Janesville had a dispensary because weed is illegal here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, but they have that Delta 8 stuff. That might be what they're referring to. I don't know.
I have no idea. But I'm glad you're here to translate for us. Sorry I had to cut you off there. We have very hard outs where the computer just takes over, but you were telling me about your friend in Detroit who you thought was really funny.
Yeah. I think there's just some great comics all over. You know, it used to be growing up, at least I was told, you know, you go to LA to get famous, you go to New York to get good. And now I feel like with social media and all of that, I mean, there's some phenomenal folks living all over the country. My friend Amber lives in Nashville, and she's, you know, nationally touring headliner and also has some phenomenal stuff. I mean, yeah, there's just some good people all over.
It is nice with social media. You just need an airport, right? Somewhere where you can get places. So you can live in Nashville or Chicago or LA or New York or wherever, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a car, that's really, I think that's the big thing now is people are like, where's the best place to live if you're a comic? And I'm really finding that the answer is in your car.
Olivia, before we let you go, I ask everyone that comes on the show what they're watching. Do you have anything that you're binge watching that you could recommend?
I'm currently watching Severance. I just started. I'm behind.
I gotta check that out.
No
is it good?
Spoilers. It's really good so far.
Yeah.
I'm really into it. They're it's weird because the whole thing is that you sever your brain and then part of you goes to work and part of you lives your home life. And as someone who works from home during the day in a 1-bedroom apartment where if I don't go out and do comedy, it's just one life the whole way through. It's crazy to me that they would just be like, no, we really want to separate our work life from our home life because I am in sweatpants eating Doritos while I'm on a work call all the time. And I can't even fathom having two separate lives like that. But
that's not a bad life. That sounds kind of fun, actually.
I don't know. It's a good show. They're doing a lot of things where they kind of have set up the premise and then whenever you're sitting there watching it being like, well, what happens if they do this or wouldn't they do this? The show's like, great. Yes, we have thought of that. That's what this episode is about. They're going to try to, kind of escape this way and do things this way. So it's very entertaining. I like it a lot.
I got to check it out. I've heard really good things about it, and it's something I'm not familiar with, but it's on my list. Hey, thank you so much, and for being on the show. I hope you have a great trip here to Wisconsin. I just think you're hilarious. So don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you back on sometime and keep us posted as to where you're going to be performing. Hopefully, we can help you put some butts in the seats.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm going to be at Working Draft on February 13th. 7:30 is the showtime for that. And then I'll be at Madison's on the 15th doing that crazy dating show at 8 p.m. So if you're in Madison, please check those out.
And look up your old buddy, the Axe Thrower, and give him some more singles. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. So
absolutely. Right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. That's Olivia Witt. So check out her stuff on social media, too. She's very funny. I'm glad we were able to get her on the show. Let's get through these. Here's this text from Steady Eddie. Our question of the night is in honor of National Plan a Vacation Day. Where would you go? And Eddie says, Pete, my summertime dream vacation is to travel to Green Bay and attend an episode of Nite starring Pete Schwaba along with sidekick and lovable producer Conrad. You know, we've never had a studio audience here, and I think that might be the one thing the show is lacking. And I think it starts with Steady Eddie. I think that would be great. He says, I would sit in one of the chairs in the WGBW studio, see Night Light on YouTube. Eddie obviously watches us on the stream. I think that's a bonus. And eating a bottomless bowl of gelato. Well, Eddie, you're going to have to bring your own because the place next door, even on a balmy day like this, they weren't open.
I think they're just closed for the winter.
I hope that's the case. He says, I think you and Conrad could really cash in on this idea. Pete, if you charge $25 for each chair, each episode, wow, that's in all caps. There's an average of 261 weekdays a year, 261 times $50. Pete, you do the math, or ask Conrad to do the math if you are not up to it. Thank you. Maybe you could add 2 or 3 more chairs behind you in the WGBW studio. Big money, cha-ching, cha-ching. Steady, you're welcome, Eddie. All right, I'm up for that. You know what? Maybe we could do something like that, like some kind of contest where if people win, they sit back there through the whole show.
That's a lot of money.
Well, I'm not saying we would charge them. Steady Eddie's just
5
greedy,
cents.
but I'm just saying and it could turn out to be like a hostage situation. I mean, maybe people might feel weird being on camera for the entire show, but I think there might be something there. Hey, we got a fun show Thursday, folks, too. One of my favorite holidays, just because of the movie, is Groundhog Day. And that will be my feature on this week's New Wisco Weekend. And we're going to talk to Rick Overton, who was in Groundhog Day. That's Thursday night at 6:35. He played one of the 2 town drunks and was very funny. We've had Rick on the show before, and he will be here Thursday to help us celebrate Groundhog Day, which is coming up this weekend. All right. Thank you to everybody for being on the show. My guests, Olivia Witt, Chris Foran from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And thank you for all your texts. It's always more fun when you guys participate in the show. On behalf of the lovable producer, Conrad, good night, Wisconsin.
I'll sing it to you.